The night had gone silent in a way that felt final. No messages, no interruptions, no one watching. He believed he had reached the end of himself. The pain felt permanent. The future felt closed. He did not think anyone could stop what he had decided. But in that moment, when the weight became unbearable, something interrupted the darkness. Not force, not fear, presence. And it stopped him. When pain becomes louder than reason, pain does not always announce itself dramatically. Sometimes it whispers, day after day, until it becomes the loudest voice in the room. He had learned to function while breaking, to smile while unraveling, to appear steady while sinking. What others saw as resilience was actually exhaustion. The slow erosion of hope. Hope rarely disappears all at once. It erodes through disappointments that stack quietly, through prayers that seem unanswered, through nights where sleep offers no refuge. Over time, hope began to feel unrealistic, almost irresponsible. Carrying pain alone, he had people around him, but isolation does not depend on absence, it depends on invisibility. He believed his pain was too heavy to share, too complicated to explain, too inconvenient to burden others with, so he carried it alone. When the mind becomes a closed room, despair narrows perspective. Options disappear. Possibilities collapse. His thoughts circled relentlessly around one conclusion: that ending everything would end the pain. Not because he wanted to die, but because he wanted relief. Faith. Under pressure, faith had once been simple. Now it felt distant, almost mocking. If God cared, why had the pain grown so intense? If God was present, why did everything feel so silent? Doubt did not arrive as rebellion. It arrived as confusion. The lie that nothing will change, despair, feeds on certainty. It convinces you that tomorrow will feel exactly like today, only worse. That nothing new can emerge. That help is already exhausted. He believed the lie completely. The moment everything. No, there came a moment when the world felt unbearably small. Time compressed. Choices vanished. He was no longer thinking about life, only about escape. And in that fragile space, he believed he was alone. The interruption, it was not dramatic. No thunder, no spectacle, just an interruption that did not belong to despair. A sudden clarity, a restraint he could not explain, a stillness that cut through the chaos. Something stopped him. God does not always shout. God did not speak loudly. He did not overwhelm. He simply was there, and that presence changed the direction of everything. The power of being seen for the first time in a long while. He felt seen, not evaluated, not judged, not corrected. Seen, that alone softened the intensity of the pain. When surrender replaces control, he stopped fighting the moment, stopped resisting help, stopped believing he had to solve everything himself. Surrender was not weakness, it was survival. The night did not end, but it shifted. The pain did not instantly vanish. Circumstances did not magically resolve, but the night lost its finality. The future reopened just enough, learning that thoughts are not truth. Despair presents thoughts as facts, but God disrupted that certainty. He began to realize that what he felt, no matter how intense, was not the whole story. Feelings could lie. The next morning arrived quietly. He was still here, still breathing, still fragile, still uncertain, but alive. And that mattered more than he realized. Asking for help without shame, he reached out, not confidently, not eloquently, but honestly. Help did not arrive as solutions, it arrived as companionship. God works. Through people, God's presence did not remain abstract. It appeared through listening, through patience, through others who stayed when things were uncomfortable. He was not meant to heal alone. Untangling the roots of pain healing required honesty. Pain had layers: loss, fear, disappointment, self-blame. God did not rush the process. He stayed through it. Faith reimagined. Faith was no longer certainty. It became trust in presence, not believing. Everything would be easy, but believing he would not be abandoned. Progress without perfection healing was uneven. Some days felt lighter, others returned to heaviness. But progress did not mean never struggling again. It meant continuing despite struggle, meaning reborn. Pain that once pushed him toward ending everything now shaped his compassion. He understood suffering differently. He listened better, judged less, loved more carefully. The courage to staying is not passive. It is courageous. Each day he chose to remain, despite uncertainty, despite fear, was an act of strength. God's timing as gentle guard did not demand instant transformation. He worked patiently. Healing unfolded slowly, like light entering a room, through a narrow crack. The past did not define the ending. The moment he nearly gave up did not define him. It refined him. It revealed how deeply human and how deeply held he truly was. Learning to live with questions. Not every question found an answer, but not every question needed one. Presence replaced explanation, and that was enough. A different kind of testimony. His story was not about triumph over pain. It was about interruption. About a moment when despair was not allowed to have the final word. For those standing on the edge, if you feel overwhelmed, you are not weak. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not invisible. Interruption is possible. God enters the darkest moments. God does not wait for strength. He enters at the point of collapse, where clarity is gone, where hope feels irresponsible. He enters there. Life after the interruption, life did not become perfect, but it became possible, and possibility is where hope grows. A future reopened. He once believed the story had ended. Now he knew it had paused long enough for grace to intervene. The final truth, he tried to end it all. That was the depth of his pain. But God stopped him, not by force, by presence, and that presence gave him something stronger than escape, a reason to stay.